Hey guys, Aaron here with another fountain pen review. And today I'm reviewing another Japanese fountain pen. Sorry, I had to get a drink of water real quick. I'm reviewing another Japanese fountain pen, the Sailor Pro Gear. And I've been reviewing a little bit more Japanese fountain pens. One of my favorite, I guess, different fountain pen. I mean, I love Pilot, I love Platinum, and I never owned a Sailor fountain pen, so I picked one of these guys up back in March. So I've had it roughly about five and a half months now. And, one thing I've always heard from a lot of different video reviewers is how Sailor nibs are amazing. And, we'll talk about the nib obviously at the end of the video when we do the writing review. But it was definitely a pen that I wanted to try. And, I'd gone back and forth. Should I get a Sailor 1911 or should I go with a Pro Gear? And one of the reasons I went with the Pro Gear is the body style is a little bit different than your other Japanese fountain pens, or the majority of them. Most of them are cigar shaped and they've got rounded finials. And while all of that is wonderful, and I love a beautiful cigar shaped pen, I thought it would be kind of nice to have a pen that is got flat top and flat bottom, just something different. And the Pro Gear, a little bit girthier, not a very long pen, obviously, but girthier. And I thought it'd be kind of nice to have one. The other thing was, trying out that 21 karat gold nib, I thought would be really cool as well. So really talking about this pen specifically, not going to really go into the history of Sailor other than to say that the pen company was founded in 1911 and it is actually the oldest Japanese pen manufacturer still making pens today. So they've been around longer than Pilot as well as Platinum. Now, while all of them started, within less than 10 years of each other, and Platinum and Pilot being a year apart, they've all three been around for a very long time. Now the Pro Gear that you see in front of you, this is the standard Pro Gear, or the regular size as they would call it. And they really have three different sizes in the Pro Gear line. They have the King size, or the Pro Gear King of Pen, or King of Pen Pro Gear. They have the regular size, which would be this one here, and they have the Slim, which is the Pro Gear Slim. Now, between those three different ones, they actually offer different nibs. As far as the Slim series comes with a 14 karat gold nib, whereas the standard and King size come with the 21 karat gold nib. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go with this pen versus the Slim series. Plus, the Slim series is a little bit smaller pen as well. Now, this pen capped is 5 inches, posted is 5 7/8 inches, and unposted it is 4.5 inches. So, I mean, when you look at it, it's a little bit shorter than the 3776, and I'll show you in a sizing comparison here in a moment. So the pen's not very big, but in the hand, for some reason, and maybe it's just me, it feels bigger than my Platinum counterpart. And part of that is the girth, and part of that I think is just the pen to me is got a really nice balance to it and is a nice from that perspective. Now, as far as color goes, the pen that you see here in front of you is obviously a black resin material with a chrome or rhodium plated trim. Now, one cool thing about the Pro Gear line is there are an infinite amount of colors almost. There is tons of colors. And they have a lot of limited editions, and some of them you can still purchase now as far as colorways and different things like that. They offer them in different nib colors as well. You've got, full gold nibs. You've got biplated or bicolored nibs. You've got just full rhodium nibs, all sorts of different types of nib colors. And then you have 7 different nib sizes offered in this line as well. So you have an extra fine, a fine, a medium fine, a medium. You have a broad nib as well. You also have their zoom nib, which is a pretty cool nib, and a music nib. as well. So definitely a lot of different nib variations that can probably suit just about anybody. Now, one thing you don't hear is like a soft fine or something like that. So they're not big like how Pilot has a lot of their soft nibs, and they have their Falcon nibs and everything else. And even Platinum has some soft nibs as well. Sailor does not have that, especially within this Pro Gear line. And I really haven't seen it with any of their fountain pens for the most part. As far as the cost of the pen, so it is going to be more expensive, and it does have a 21 karat gold nib, so you're obviously higher gold content in the nib, so you are paying more. And another thing is it does come with a converter. Now, granted, a converter is not very expensive, but it does come with one, so you don't have to purchase that separately. So you're looking at about $250 US. And that is for one that is not like, say, a specialized color or a limited edition. Those can get much higher into the $500 and even higher range. So you'd be paying $500 or $400 for one of those fountain pens. Now, you can get this pen through a overseas retailer, such as a Japanese retailer. And from there, I've seen them from about the $150 range to the $200 range. So you could save yourself about $50 to $90, give or take, if you're willing to wait, number one, because you have to wait for the shipping. The other thing that you have to understand is you're not purchasing from a U.S. retailer. So, warranty and all of those type of things can sometimes be a little bit wonky. So that is one thing to note when you're doing that. You can save money, but there's a chance you get a pen, if it doesn't perform right, you're kind of stuck with that pen. As far as U.S. retailers that do sell the pen, I think a really common one is Classic Fountain Pens or Nibs.com. Goulet does not carry this pen. And I think part of that is for a lot of people, the nibs are very scratchy when you first use them, or at least that's feedback I've gotten. And that is one of the reasons why Goulet no longer carries the pens on their website. Nibs.com, however, if you've never purchased a pen from them or don't know anything about Nibs.com, check out their website. John, the gentleman that is the owner or the founder, is a Nibmeister, and some of you may already know about John's work, but I have not personally purchased a pen from there, but I will be at some point. And he tests the pens for you. He will ensure that the pen writes to your specific writing specifications. He can do different things to the nib that are probably nobody else can really do. I say no one else, but very few people can do. And you're going to get a pen that has his name behind it. So again, you might pay a little bit more, possibly, but you're going to get a pen that's going to work. It's literally going to be guaranteed to work. So again, nibs.com, about $250 is the price on there. And he doesn't even charge you extra to just test the pens and make sure that the pen is going to be smooth and right to your specifications. He doesn't even charge extra for that. Now, this pen that you see in front of you, obviously, like I said before, it is a black resin body with a rhodium trim. Now, looking at the top of the pen, you'll notice we've got that Sailor anchor. I love that touch. I think it's a really nice aesthetic touch to the pen. I love the fact that they put it on the top versus putting it, say, on the clip or even on the cap band. I think it looks really nice. Now, looking at the clip, nothing on there, no branding or anything. And the clip, it's kind of got this textured step down. And it is a little bit stiff, but it definitely does the job, and it works. It goes in and out of shirt pockets perfectly fine. And then when we look at the cap band, you'll see you have founded 1911, and then you look at Sailor Japan. So nice big lettering on the cap band, nice fat cap band, which I like. You see you've got your smaller one up there. Now moving down the barrel, you'll notice the barrel tapers down just slightly to the end. You've got another band here, and then again you have a flat bottom. The cap takes about 1 3/4 turns to take off, so it takes a little bit longer to take off the cap. You'll notice that the barrel, there's just this slight step down right there. You don't really notice it. If you're somebody that holds the pen up higher, you don't notice it that much. The threads are also very well machined and very shallow. They're very smooth as well, as far as they just work very well. You'll notice you've got a metal piece here separating the barrel to the section. Section tapers down just slightly and then flares back out at the end. I typically hold the pen about right here. For me, because I'm used to writing with a lot of vintage pens, I'm used to smaller or shorter pens, it does not bother me at all to write with this pen unposted. However, if you're someone that wants to post your pens or has to, maybe you have extremely large hands, this pen, I will say, is very well balanced. It's one of the more well balanced pens as far as writing with it posted. And for me, even though I don't really ever write with my pens posted, this is a pen that I would be totally fine writing with posted. It's not back heavy at all. Again, it's a really nice lightweight material. This cap is not heavy, or I'm sorry, this clip is not heavy, and it just feels very well balanced. Now, taking off the barrel real quick reveals that converter, and this is a Sailor proprietary converter, so you can't just put any converter in here. Obviously, it is just a twist type converter. You'll notice it's got some Sailor branding on there, and if you flip it this way, it says Japan. And converter works well. I mean, it's a converter. It does the job. You notice again, you've got metal section here. And then one thing that's very common with Sailor pens is you've got that rubber O-ring style down here at the bottom. Kind of similar to what you'll see in some of the Delight pens, talking about Chinese pens and Pen BBS. You'll get a little bit of I don't want to say friction, but it gets a little bit stiffer there when you go to take off the barrel at first, and also when you go to put it on, but not nearly as much as, like, say, a Pen BBS pen. And it really makes sure that barrel is nice and locked into place. Now the nib. This is a beautiful, beautiful nib. You'll notice this nib, it's not a very rounded nib. It's kind of more of a flat nib, but it has some beautiful scroll work. It is definitely a two-tone nib. You'll notice that it's mostly a silver or rhodium color, and then you'll notice where on the scroll work there, it's got the gold tone. Now in the middle it says 1911. It's got the Sailor logo on there, 21K, of course, 875, and then they put the Sailor additional branding down at the bottom. So not very big at all, so you don't really notice it. Now when you roll the nib over to this side, you'll notice it has an HM on there, and that stands for hard medium. And something that's very common, they always put on the side of the nib what the nib sizing is, so to speak. So if it's a fine or extra fine or so to speak, then it would have that on there. Now, looking at the Sailor feed, I'm just a plastic feed there, but it does a very good job. This pen is a very nice, consistent ink flow. I don't typically have any issues as far as it drying out or anything like that. It works very well. Now, doing some sizing comparisons real fast, we'll pull in the Platinum 3776, which is my last review. We'll pull in the Pilot Metropolitan, since they're fairly close to the same size, and then one that's longer is the Custom 74 as well. So you'll notice that the Pro Gear is actually the shortest of these four pens. Now let's pull this guy off to the side, and I'm going to post all three of these pens. You kind of see the sizes there, and then we can also compare nibs. All right, so now we can see the three pens posted. And again, you'll notice that once we're posted, we're much closer to the same size as the Platinum pen. There's not a huge difference. Whereas the Pilot pen, while it's not as girthy, it is definitely a much longer pen. Even if these pens were unposted, it would be longer than the other two. Now, when we compare nibs here, get these up closer, you'll definitely notice that the Sailor nib and Platinum nibs are much closer to the same size. They're bigger than the Pilot nib. And I would say aesthetically, for me at least, the Sailor nib is really the prettiest between the three. Platinum nib doesn't really have much scroll work, but I think it holds its own. It's got a very cool breather hole. I love that heart-shaped breather hole. And I like the shape of the Platinum nib. The Pilot nib has, again, some nice scroll work on it. It's a little bit plain, and it's not a very large nib. And just the Sailor nib, again, is a very gorgeous nib. Very aesthetically pleasing. So up next, guys, we're going to do a writing sample, and then I'll finish up with what I like about the pen and what I don't like about the pen. All right, we are back, and we're going to do this writing sample. So again, this is the Sailor Pro Gear. And this is a medium nib. And the ink I'm using is Roshizuku Konpeki. Now, one thing you may notice is you hear probably a lot more feedback than you do with my other pens that I use, as far as my other Japanese pens I've written with. And this pen, I definitely will say, gives a lot more feedback. Now, you may ask, have you used micromesh? And I have. I have used micromesh. This nib is scratchier, I will say. It's not... And I know when I've watched a lot of reviews. I think I watched Figboot, watched several different reviews, and that was something that was talked about. Is the pen is kind of got that pencil, or the nib's kind of that pencil-y type feedback. And I would say this pen is on that borderline of being too scratchy. The micromesh helped a little bit. Now, I will say the pen was much scratchier when I first got it. And the more I've written with it, I think that nib's softening up some, and it's not as scratchy or toothy as before. And even though this is a hard nib, you'll notice you can get some line variation. And I notice, at least with the way I write, when I have upstrokes, I have a tendency to put a little bit more pressure sometimes than I probably should. And that's usually when I get that scratchiness. And I watch the tines, they kind of spread out a little bit on that upstroke, and I'm getting this back tine is I think scratching a little bit. And that's where you hear some of that scratchiness. My downstrokes are fine. They're very smooth. You kind of hear it more on that upstroke. And I've worked with the micromesh on it, and of course I've checked the nibs or the tines. They're very much so aligned. No issues there. And for me, for everyday writing, it really doesn't bother me, especially for taking notes or anything like that. So, if I was to say, if I had to choose, if I had this pen and my Custom 74 and my 3776 sitting in front of me, I would probably pick my Custom 74 first, And surprising, I'd pick this pen second. I mean, I love my 3776, but I'd probably pick this pen second. The scratchiness is not that bad. It definitely sounds scratchier. I think probably on the video when you guys watch this, it's going to sound scratchier, but it's not that bad. Do I feel as though it's worth what I paid for it? I think if I would have paid the $250 and it was scratchy like this, I probably wouldn't be very happy. 150, not that 150 is not a lot of money, but I mean, I paid $70 for my custom 74. Granted, it's a 14 karat gold nib, but it writes very well. The same thing for my 3776. I paid $300 for my custom 823. Other than that pen had a little bit of baby's bottom when I got it. It is a buttery smooth pen and writes amazingly well. So really only hypothetically $50 more, and the pen writes very well. So granted, if I was to buy this pen again, I would probably buy it from nibs.com. So again, my perspectives, I don't regret paying the $159 for it. It works well. I probably at some point will buy a 1911 anyways. And when I do, I will go through classic fountain pens and have John test my pen for me and do all those things. Just knowing what I know now versus what I knew back when I bought this pen and just maybe not doing as much research as I should have done, I probably would have been better from buying from nibs.com. So again, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Comment down below. Definitely let us know if you already have one of these pens. Let us know what you think about it. Where did you get your pen from? What are things that you like about it, things you might not like about it? Aesthetically, as I said before, I like just about everything about this pen. There's not a lot that I can nitpick or complain about. I would say the only thing is just the pen being on the scratchier side for me, is the main thing. Other than that, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.